Afternoon, Inah.
Good afternoon. Thanks
Yeah.
for
So
inviting.
yes, for those watching in the replay or watching in the live stream, welcome to our discussion with Bucha Mama. Ina Lee is known as the Kombucha Mama, and that's where
Welcome
Rach
to our
actually
discussion
learned how to
with
do kombucha.
Kombucha Mama. Inah Lee is
So
known as the Kombucha Mama.
Okay.
wait,
May
yeah.
laptop.
And so if you want to join our live discussion today, let us know. And we'll be talking all about kombucha and how Bucha Mama started and what happened during this pandemic with kombucha. All right. Thank you.
Ayan.
And we're here talking to thank you for all right. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe Ina, for those people watching this in the replay and watch in the live stream, maybe you can introduce first what Bucha Mama is and how did you get started with doing kombucha?
Okay. So, hi guys. First of all, thank you for inviting me. This is, I think, my first interview na live. So, pasensya na if medyo mahihain ako konti. So, anyway, for Bucha Mama, kombucha is a local home-brewed kombucha that I started in Manila in 2018. So I just recently got back home from my work in Singapore. I used to be a chef there. And then during the period na transitioning, like thinking of things to do, I started to brew again the kombucha. So I started brewing kombucha in Singapore. And the first thing talaga na I brought home when went back home is my Scoby. So I brought some Scoby. And then sometime in August, I think, I started reviving it and brewing it again. And then when I first started brewing, here in Manila, there's not much kombucha na locally made available. Like there's like less than five in Manila, which are all good. So I just told myself na me, I'm not doing anything. I'm in between. I'm in a transition period. Might as well try to brew it.
So let's break it down,
Mm-mm.
Ina. What's a Kobe
Sorry.
and kombucha muna?
So
Just for
basically, for those of you who don't know what kombucha is, like it's a fermented tea. So if you're familiar with beer, I just saw your recent live about the craft brewing, right? So it's almost similar. So it's fermentation using yeast and bacteria, a good bacteria, and that we feed it with the culture, right? And the substrate is sugar and tea. So when you ferment the sugar and the tea, the good bacteria and the yeast will start converting it into acids, minerals, and like a fizzy, bubbly beverage that's similar to soda. For
Mhm.
someone who's never tried it before, the first thought would be like, am I drinking like carbonated suka? Yun. So it's similar to that. Pero when you brew it delicately, it actually turns out really, really tasty. And it's more like a cider-ish, but it's made of tea. So that's what it's all about. Yeah. And
So
then Scoby naman,
wait, before you go to the Scooby. So, ibig sabihin man nito, so it's also brewing. Yun rin yung tawag din sa
oo.
kombucha.
It's still called brewing. So if I'll compare it to to beer, kasi it's most common, right, the craft beers. For
Mhm.
beers, kasi it's they go through different processes of hot brewing and then rapid cooling, right, and then before they ferment it. But for kombucha, it's purely cold brewed. So you just let the temperature to control the temperature to let it ferment. And what's great about brewing in the Philippines is our average climate here is the perfect temperature for the kombucha to thrive.
Talaga? So room
Mm.
temperature lang, essentially.
So it's room temperature lang. Well, of course, if during summer when it hits like over 34 degrees, you have to control the room. Like you put the aircon. Pero basic room temperature indoors 28 degrees, 29 degrees. Perfect sweet spot if you want to brew it. So it's actually quite easy to start.
Okay. Okay. And what's a Scoby? What's
So
the
a Scoby is acronym. It's called Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast. So that's the substrate where the good bacteria and the yeast live. So it's like jelly. I can actually show you right now. I have a sample here.
Yes.
So baka lang magulat tapasin-tabi kasi hindi siya ganun kaaya-aya.
So
So
ano?
ito siya. Medyo may mukha eh, no?
Oo, ano
Yeah.
siya? What is it exactly? Para siyang
Technically, it's cellulose. So it's a bacteria, cellulose forming bacteria. So if you're familiar with nata de coco,
Oo,
it's
yes.
the similar thing that grows on top of the ferment of the coconut juice, right? Or
Mm.
if you're familiar with raw apple cider vinegar, you'll see something floating. So that's the mother naman. So it's actually called a mother then kasi that's what we use to ferment. It's one of the things that we use to ferment kombucha. And every time you brew your kombucha, another layer form. So you will see like if I don't know if I can show it closer. It's
Is
actually
it
tiny
alive?
layers. Hmm?
Is it alive? Alive ba yan?
Well,
Live?
not really alive technically, but alive in a sense because there's live bacteria and yeast
Live.
inside. But yeah. So that's what it is. So it will just grow and grow to the size of your vessel, and it's a byproduct of the fermentation. But it's
Mm.
two parts eh, kasi this is just the most commonly known as the Kombucha Scoby. But some people forget that what's important actually is the starter liquid. So if you can see here,
Oo.
this
What's
is
the starter
our
liquid? Sige nga.
so the starter liquid is the fermented na tea with water and the kombucha. So you always start with another kombucha. So basically, sometimes when you do research, it's like chicken or the egg kasi you don't know which one came first. Kasi parang if you don't have the starter, how do you make kombucha or where did it come from, right? But eventually, it all works out.
So where do you get the Where do you get the star? So yun ang kailangan mo, the starter liquid plus the Scoby. Correct.
So basically, when you buy the starter, right? You can actually buy it, right? So It comes in a container with the SCOBY, yung parang gulaman,
Mm.
and the starter liquid, right? And then there is a universal ratio that you can follow, so you can make successful brews. But for my SCOBY, it's just I just stumbled upon it by accident. Kasi I was just walking around a trade show in Singapore back then. During that time, I'm already trying to look for kombucha starters in Singapore, but it's really not so common yet. And you can only find like one or two international brands, but they are pasteurized. So if it's pasteurized kasi, you can't do a successful brew. So what happens is I found a small stall. She's a lady that makes her own local kombucha in Singapore, and I was able to buy starter tea from her. And then from there, the experimentation happened.
Have you have you made yung I saw kasi yung Scoby, yung 'di ba pwede you can make you can use vinegar
For there's
from
debates
scratch talaga?
actually. There's debates actually in the kombucha brewing industry mostly in America kasi doon talaga siya nag-base, right? That there are purists who says that do not use vinegar. Kasi vinegar, although when you brew kombucha, one of the byproduct is acetic acid, which is vinegar. But it's not the natural to add the vinegar. Kasi sometimes if your vinegar is from an unknown source, you could be introducing vinegar eels. So may makita ka talagang worms that grows.
Ew.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all natural. It's part of the cycle of life and the microorganisms and the microbiome in brewing. That's why over time lang talaga with research and trial and error, you'll find a way how to make it palatable and safe for the consumers. And thankfully, just I think just this year, there's this organization in the US. It's called KBI. It's called Kombucha Brewers International. So they are the real kombucha mamas. Like sila na talaga yung nag-mass produce scaled kombucha breweries. And then this group already laid down all the instructions, the details, what you need to do to be considered as an authentic kombucha. So that is the standard now that I follow or trying to
So
follow because now
may
it's
mga
really
fake
small
kombucha rin.
scale. Ano pa?
May mga
Hello?
fake na kombucha rin. May mga fake na kombucha.
Well, not really fake, but because home brewing, when you scale it to commercial, there's a lot of factors that you need to consider, like how do you control the carbonation or how do you control the yeast content or the alcohol content. So there are processes that big commercial brewers have adapted, like the ones na talagang maybe 1,000 gallons a week na sila, no? So may mga processes sila na ina-adapt na para bumaba yung sugar content and alcohol. So one of the things is pasteurization. So it's low heat to kill off most of the bacteria, and then they would add lab-produced bacteria. So alcohol won't go up, but you still get the taste somehow. So it's diluted. So it's really depends on your taste preference and like what standard you want to set for your brewery.
Okay. How long to brew a kombucha usually? How long does it
Usually
take?
in Manila, you can start off with 2 weeks. You can have a first fermentation. A first fermentation meaning just the brewed tea with sugar and the starter. So you want to make a base first. So usually that's around 2 weeks. And then when you harvest it, like you take out the kombucha and then you want to add flavors, which I love doing. So it will take another to 5 to 8 days for me to get it bottle ready.
All right. So, kamusta naman? How's the kombucha consumption in Manila? And I think it has been 2 years na, no? And nagkaroon ng pandemic. What happened during this year on the consumption of kombucha for the Filipino market particularly?
Okay. So when I started, like it's really small, palang na very niche community. Like because for me, ang ginawa ko talagang strategy to get my kombucha across is I was relentlessly joining all the weekend markets because I want to, interact with the customers and then like have them taste it and explain to them what it is. And then if I compare that now, like during the pandemic, there was a slight dip in the beginning because I think everyone was so scared to go out, and the new normal, like how to shop, how to buy your stuff, has still not been, regularized, right? So nagka-slight dip. Pero you can see na medyo umaakyat yung consumption ng kombucha kasi everyone wants to include healthier alternatives in their daily regimen. And I think it's a
So,
good alternative.
So ano bang yung benefit? Punta tayo dun sa benefit ng ng kombucha. 'Di ba para siyang ang tawag mo dito. Sabi mo probiotic drink. Right?
Probiotic
So
ba talaga siya?
one of the things na kombucha is well known for is for gut health, for the microbiome. Because for home brewed kombucha, there are different types of yeast and bacteria that you brew, right? So there will be different types of probiotics inside and yeast. If you compare it to Yakult, like the people who makes Yakult, it's really like the lactobacillus na probiotic that they use, right? But for kombucha kasi, it differs. So, if I compare the probiotic content of kombucha to like maybe kefir would have more in like what type of probiotic is in there. That's why I always tell the clients na if you want to drink kombucha just because of the probiotic na benefits niya, it's best to also include other fermented food and beverage in your diet para mas diversified yung types of good bacteria that goes into your system.
May question pa ako. 'Di ba since the kombucha has sugar, will it affect my sugar level?
Okay, this is one of the things that a lot of people has been asking since I started selling kombucha. Kasi a lot of people are doing the low carb lifestyle, right? Like they want to avoid sugars. So what I always tell them that authentic kombucha will really have to have real fermentable sugar for the cultures to thrive, for them to jumpstart their fermentation and do their thing. So those cultures will eat the sugar, whatever it is that you put inside the first fermentation, and then they will convert it into acetic acid, convert it into carbonation, convert the taste, and then the sugar will be lessened dramatically. And it depends on the length of your fermentation time.
'Di ba kaya nga when
oo,
you ferment it longer, nagiging maasim.
maasim na suka. So
Oo.
for brewers, like you, like Rach, you started brewing your own at home, right? I always tell them it's really about your taste preference. Kasi what is sweet for me is quite sour na for you. Kasi I don't like to eat sweet food or beverage except chocolate. So so it really depends on your taste buds. Pero that's where your creativity and your timing comes as a brewer. Kasi to know when is the right time to harvest and then flavor, and then when is the right time to bottle. So bago makarating yung kombucha sa customers, akma ba sa taste nila or sa palate? Ayun.
Oo. And nagulat nga ako during the time that you sent over some kombucha. Ang dami mo ng flavors and it's so
Oo.
colorful.
Oo. Yun kasi parang sabi nga sa akin ng father ko, maybe you want to cut down 2 to 3 flavors so you can focus. Kasi like, now nafe-feel ko na yung comment niya kasi when I am scaling, right? Like, it's so many flavors, ang dami kong ililabel. Tapos,
How many flavors do you have?
Right now, nagro-rotate ako sa mga 10 flavors. Pero I couldn't resist kasi there's so many good ingredients that you can find here in Manila and in the Philippines. And then like good tea, magandang superfood that you can combine and create really delicious beverages. And then some of the brews, para siyang nagiging delicate, parang medyo wine, merong flavors na full-bodied, merong flavors naman na light and crisp. So really, it excites me. Kaya it's hard for me to just choose to 5 flavors. Ayun.
Ano ba? So I know you're a chef. Did you go into other endeavors or you focused on kombucha?
So basically, I'm a trained chef, so that's my profession. So for the past almost 10 years before I went back home, I was working in a hotel in Singapore. And then when I came back here, parang it's my first decision to do a hiatus from the career without a plan. So it was scary. And the only thing I brought is the starter kombucha, which hindi ko pa talaga naisip na I would make a living out of it. So it was just there. But I don't know if you've been working in an industry and then you've been dying to take a break and then you finally get that break, then after 1 week, like you're so bored, like you don't know what to do. So parang ganun yung nangyari. So I started brewing again and then like giving it away to friends and family until I decided to, why not try to open an online account and see the market kung may potential. Pero since then nga, when I went back home, hindi pa ako ulit sa food industry.
Yeah. We met you nga in Ultimate Taste Test, di ba?
Oo nga eh. Actually, so very thankful for that. It's one of the highlights talaga. And when I was able to join Ultimate Taste Test, Zaza of Lolo Joe's, she's the one who invited me. And then I actually didn't know what it's all about. And to my big surprise, when I got there, it's Masters. So, like, this is me. This is me. I'm a very new, para akong turista sa Manila, di ba? Kasi kakauwi ko lang. Then I have this weird product na, would they appreciate that? Kasi like, nung time na yun, I think it was craft beer, sila Raul, and then there's like craft alcohol, right? And I said, it's beverage category, how do you, parang it's something very new to me. Kasi ako, ang ko nun talaga is food, hot food. So that's my profession. So biglang beverage, so it's very, very new. Pero when I got there, I was the comments and the feedback talaga really helped me to push me to the right direction kung ano gusto kong gawin sa brand. So for that, I'm really, really thankful for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you also. Naging kombucha drinkers and brewers.
Oo,
Actually, nagustuhan kasi ng mga anak namin, di ba?
Di ba gusto nila yon sa UTT? They kept coming back to you, going
for
to...
the juice daw. Tapos sabi ko, are you sure? Kasi maasim. Tapos, iniinom naman nila yung maasim. And then,
mahilig kasi sila sa sinigang.
Ayun, di ba? So, it's similar. So, it's nice then to see na something fruitful that comes out with a hobby. Kasi it's doing something that I enjoy and then I get to, earn a bit of a living out of it and then surviving pa naman. Nakakapagbayad pa naman. And then, and meeting the number one is meeting the clients and meeting the customers and then I still reply to them to their questions and then having close relationships with most of the clients. It's really nice to have this community built out of this weird thing.
Yeah.
Scoby, diba? Who would have thought? Yeah.
Wait, we'll pull up some question ng Lex, our friend Lex. Looking good. Anton and Rach. And of course, Vince! Again, Vince, thank you. Hindi pa Friday, Monday tayo. Monday kombucha.
Friday.
Kombucha ang pinag-usapan natin.
Parati siyang online.
It's similar.
Similar. Try it.
Similar to craft beer. In fact, sa States, I personally haven't tried making, but in the States, abroad, there's a category called hard kombucha. So it's a higher alcohol content kombucha. So they call it kombucha beer. So it's something, in the future that it would be nice to maybe collaborate on with the craft beer industry. So do something quite different.
Anong
So
tawag?
they call it, it's hard kombucha. It's like cider. So what they do is they would still add extra brewing yeast ng beer, and then they would do the process now of beer fermentation. But your wort is the kombucha tea.
Ina, kontakin mo na si Raul.
Gagawa natin ang paraan yan.
Kontakin. Kausap ko siya ngayon. I mean, kausap ko siya eh. So sabihin kong makipag-collaborate. Di ba?
No, Raul is really nice. He's been very helpful in I actually have a lot of questions, and then that he helped me and getting equipment, kasi the equipment for brewing kombucha is similar to brewing craft beers eh. So they're really very helpful. Yeah.
Question.
Point
So
in the right direction.
anong alcohol content ng kombucha?
Ayan na, di ba? So, this is a medyo controversial, especially for home-brewed kombucha. Kasi, when you do, even if on our end, when we try to control the sugar, control the temperature, and make sure that when we bottle it's at below 1%, sometimes, kasi, the handling and the storage na, when it leaves the facility, will affect the alcohol content. Like if you leave it, accidentally leave it at room temperature, and kasi it's close fermentation. So alcohol goes up a little bit. So it will go up to maybe 2 to 3%. And then during that time, naglalaban kasi sila ng vinegar. Kasi it's yeast and bacteria eh. So for beer, yeast, di ba, ang nag-ferment, it converts to alcohol. In kombucha naman, it's yeast and bacteria. So the bacteria will convert to vinegar. So they will fight. So if alcohol goes up, the vinegar will shoot up, and then it will bring it down.
Okay. So hindi naman nakakalasing pala.
It's if you're somebody na you're not used to drinking this, or you're not used to drinking kombucha, you will feel parang kang kinikilig, happy lang, mainit. Pero after that, wala na. You don't really get drunk out of it unless you mix it with alcohol, which is possible. So you make craft drinks out of it.
So, do you have community right now? Yung nag-uusap-usap kayo mga brewers din, kombucha brewers. Kilala mo yung
Right now, there's a couple that I communicate with, pero there's not really a group in the Philippines that na talagang who takes care of all the brands, right? So hopefully in the future we can all get together, and then
Great pa na.
And then we can all get together, right? And then so we can all promote the local kombucha brewing industry in the Philippines. And it's growing kasi when I first started, like you can count it like sa fingers mo lang, the ones brewing in Manila. But I think after pandemic, people have more time now to pursue their passions or their hobbies. And then what's nice then is, like I can see now more local brands starting their own kombucha companies or brands, right? So it's really great. It's growing. So that means there's a lot of people now na more familiar to what the hell is this thing that we've been drinking.
Yeah, di ba? And it's people want to be healthier.
Oo, nakakatuwa kasi I mean they have different of course there are different styles naman of their brewing, right? So how I see it kasi is it really depends on the brewer. Like what do you like? Ano yung flavor profile na gusto mo? What's your style? And that's why even though there's so many different brewers, we will have our own category or niche. It's same as the craft beer. They will have our own specialty. So it's really nice to see them grow.
Wait, Vince is asking ano yung benefit. So I think you mentioned gut health, no?
Mainly it's for gut health. So when you drink it, it's because there's lots of good bacteria, right? So in our digestive system, we need all the good bacteria to balance, to bring balance to the body and then help with the detoxification because all the trauma or all the bad food that we did, what bad food that we ate or the abuse that we did to our body when we were younger, it's all
Yeah.
trapped there, right? And then now we're slowly figuring out na meron palang connection yung ganong may negative impact pala yun and connection to our body. And then sometimes it turns out as chronic disease, right? So what's good is like when you drink it, it helps revitalize the body. And then it's a good replacement to soda if you're somebody who's cutting down on sweets. And for me, ako personally, kasi I used to have GERD, like for the digestion, right? Like super acid na stomach. Like after years of drinking this, I don't drink na the medicine that the doctor provided. Yeah.
Ang
So,
galing.
oo, galing. So, wala
Dapat
na
may
yung mga
disclaimer
pero,
Disclaimer.
oo.
It's not that
Pero ano,
you...
'di ba? Pero it's still case to case basis. It really still depends on the individual kasi although this is natural food, naturally fermented food, people would still have their own intolerances. That's why cause first time when I get inquiries, I would always ask them, is this your first time drinking kombucha? Or do you have like what do you call this one? Like symptoms in your body or something that's baka magkaroon ng adverse effect. So even though it's tasty, try to control yourself not to chug the whole bottle and start small and just drink plenty of water first and then observe how your body would react to it, right? Example, for me, kombucha so far, okay naman ako. I don't get any adverse reaction when I drink it. But when juicing, cold pressed juice, ano talaga ako, nagkakasakit ako when I drink pure cold pressed juice on an empty stomach. Apparently, there are enzymes in the cold pressed juice that my digestive system could not process kasi it's very quickly absorbed in the body, right? So it turns toxic. So it really depends. And juicing is actually good for a lot of people, but it just don't work for me. That's why I wanted to, when I started making kombucha, I've been doing juicing elements. So I do cold press vegetables and fruits, but I ferment them. So it's easier for me to digest.
Okay.
So yung mga flavorings mo, colorings mo are all natural, right?
Oo, all natural. Kasi sometimes nasa-surprise na lang din ako na when let's say I add blueberries and then it turns out really, really nice color. Or
Ano
I
yan?
found,
Anong flavor niyan?
this is blueberry lychee.
Ah,
Yeah, so, and then, this one naman is just ginger aloe vera. So it's quite clear. And then I have this one like berries and apple. So when you mix, I know it's blending eh. It's nice to see the colors come out eh. Especially like before when I used to do blue butterfly pea flowers. And then it turns out really nice and lavender, right? And
Green,
then
you have green.
oh, and then last year I discovered phycocyanin, the blue spirulina. Kasi the spirulina that we find here is yung amoy dagat na algae na green. But apparently you can what do you call this one? You can extract three types of colors for spirulina. There's one that's really looking like turmeric, and then there's one naman looking really cobalt blue and walang amoy na dagat. So that's what I've been using for the blue spirulina blend. But right now I don't have stock kasi it's hard to get. Ang hirap magpa-import.
So, so we'll share your your
Ay, may question ako, 'di ba? Since spirulina lalagay mo, nawawala ba yung benefits niya when you put it in the kombucha?
Ako, I believe na when you put it in, anything you ferment, it magnifies whatever property is there. That's why the first thing you need to do or learn when you enter the food industry or especially fermenting is proper hygiene. Kasi whatever you put inside there will ferment. So good or bad. That's why some people medyo, kung nga yung towel na nilagay nila to cover it, medyo may butas, and there's stuff will come in and then it will have molds or you have like different yeast that will grow. So, ayun. So, it really, ano talaga, how you properly brew it with the right hygiene standards. Naka-mute ata. Hindi ko kayo marinig.
Sorry, nakamute kami.
Ganda niya, no?
Nagaganaan si Rosita.
Yan yung binuksan natin ngayon. Siya to.
Oh.
Wow.
Ito yung lagi ko dinadala sa pop-ups.
Okay.
Show and tell to sa
And then-
pop-up.
And then these are different flavors, no? Do you
so-
have new flavors?
So that one, the ginger turmeric, is one of the all-time best-selling flavors, especially nung nagka-COVID. Like, they would really order it like by cases kasi when it's really high in anti-inflammatory properties.
Yes.
We already know that ginger and turmeric and black pepper, which activates curcumin, is good anti-inflammatory. But why not ferment it, right? To magnify its properties and then make it palatable. Kasi it's hard to chug the shots and masakit sa chan kasi it's spicy. So when I ferment it in the kombucha, it's still very potent, but it's reminiscent to an spicy orange soda. So it's easier to drink.
Okay. Ito, ano naman to? Ito yung mga different bottles mo.
Yan yung mga sample ng different bottles that you can use for inspiration. Like, you can reuse bottles kasi. Like, for me, like when I buy store-bought kombucha, I like to keep it. So, those would be my personal stash. When I started, ganyan ako mag-brew. One by one ko nilalagay yung fruit and then I really cut it. And then, kasi before I only produce like 20 bottles, 30 bottles.
Ngayon,
Sabi ko,
ilan na ba?
Kaya ko yan.
Ganun ganito.
Ngayon, umaabot na ako ng mga, 400 to 500 bottles every 2-3 weeks na malalaki. Pero, ayun, it effort lang talaga kasi minsan nakakaantok na kasi salad ka ng salad kasi everything is still very manual. Pero it's fun para ka nagme-meditate. So I play really good music. I surround the room with good crystals para, 'di ba, medyo good energy.
Okay. All right. So what's your plan for the burr season? Ano bang do you have new flavors or what
So
are you
for burr season, I am planning to do a couple of like familiar Christmassy flavors and maybe gift sets. So I'm still deciding which direction to go to, but definitely I will do some promotions just to say thank you for all the loyal customers who supported BOOCHA Mama and like who stuck with us during the pandemic. Kasi when suddenly bigla na lang no market and there are some markets that I go to na they're very old school that they don't have your number, they just go there. By 9 o'clock nandun na sila, may dala ng bote, papalit na. So it's really hard to get those people to contact them. Pero when you see na they really try to reach out and then it makes you feel happy and grateful that they appreciated the product for na hanapin pa nila kahit na wala na kami dun sa spots namin sa example sa Legazpi or sa Mandala.
Oh, nice. Thank you. So, thank you so much, Inah, for sharing
Thank
your
you.
journey. Siguro
Thank
just
you
a
too.
final thoughts lang for I know there's a lot of people who are starting even just now, no, on
Mm-hmm.
doing a food entrepreneur business, or if
Uh-huh.
they have a hobby, maybe can you speak to that person on how he or she can pursue that journey, and is it difficult, how to overcome the difficulty throughout the journey? Any advice based on your experience?
So for me, as I mentioned earlier, my original career is I'm a chef. So for the past like 15 years, I've been working for someone. And because and then to transition to start your own business was really very difficult and scary. But trust that if you take the leap, good things will come. Because if you never try it, you'll never know if it's gonna work or not. And when I started doing kombucha mama, I was always telling my friends and family na it's like I'm running a business backwards. Kasi in my head before, I had this mindset na when you start a business, like everything should be ready. Like you have your brand, you have your marketing, you have your whole company. And sometimes that's scary because there's a lot of things that's really new. But right now, especially nung nangyari yung pandemic, you see a lot of small homegrown businesses that's starting online. And just don't be scared to try it. And if it didn't work out, pivot to another option. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Ina. Thanks for sharing your story. And we hope for more success for Bucha Mama. And thank you for introducing that to us and to all the Filipinos out there.
Thank you, Ina.
Thank you too. Thank you for having me. It's a really great opportunity to share what kombucha is to your audience. And I hope that sometime soon that all the local brewers would also become successful so we can join together and make the Philippines known as a strong country that has their own kombucha. Kasi it's really something new na in the industry. Like when you register your business, there's nothing there na kombucha. It's either your vinegar or your tea or your beer, right? So it's
Uh,
something that's really exciting that you can work with the government also to help the small scale business owners who wanted to start a new niche market there.
Yeah.
all right. Thank you, Vince, again for watching. Very
Thank you,
inspiring.
Vince.
Yeah. And then, yeah, maybe mag-create na kayo ng group ng kombucha brewer,
Uh,
para
we need to we'll figure it out.
For the
Maybe the
support.
next time na mag-live ka, marami ng mukha dyan.
Oo nga. All
Ayun.
right. Thank you, Ina.
Sige. Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe.